Hello, friends. So happy to be here with you today. I'm going to talk about shingles, which you're hearing a lot about because it's increasing, especially in older people, but even younger people are getting shingles now. So you're seeing advertisements for vaccines and so forth. And I want to help you to understand. I'm sharing this out while I talk to you. I want to help you to understand what you can do to help yourself prevent getting shingles. And then if you happen to come down, then definitely what to do to heal yourself. So first of all, for those who don't know me, I'm Debra MacIntyre. I am a naturopath in Roswell, Georgia, founded a company called Vitality Project. Been in practice, private practice since 1994, in the industry since 1990. And I am not a medical doctor, so, don't take this as medical advice, but a naturopath does have an important role to play, in healthcare, especially when it comes to chronic conditions and to prevention. So first of all, let's just talk about the shingles vaccine. I'm not just going to touch on this briefly because I've gone into vaccines in other videos. You can check in the video library, but there are two vaccines for shingles. One has been around for a little over 10 years, and then there's another one that's new. So the older one, you get the one vaccine and you are done. The new one, you take two vaccines. Now, the challenge about vaccines is they're not 100% effective. Hey, Dana, glad you could be here. Hey, Andrea, thanks for joining. So vaccines are not really guaranteed to be effective, and they absolutely use toxic additives in the vaccine to try to even stimulate your immune system more, like make your immune system really mad. So let's put mercury in there. A lot of them contain antibiotics. There's all kinds of harsh things that go into vaccines. So the shingles vaccine, the original one, was estimated to be about 51% effective for people over 50. And the new one is supposed to be more effective. They're giving it an 85%. But as I read about these vaccines, every year your protection diminishes, and none of them offer you any protection beyond 4 years. So I don't know that I want to get a vaccine every 4 years. I don't even want to get one once. So let's talk about other things that you can do to protect yourself from shingles. So shingles is a virus called herpes zoster. This is the same virus that causes chickenpox. And back in the day, we just all got chickenpox. We, suffered for a week and we got over it, and then we built immunity. And if our nervous system remains healthy, then we never have that virus express again and cause shingles. So it's not the virus that causes shingles, it's the other insults that your nervous system takes that cause the shingles virus to be able to start replicating and bloom out in a different manifestation. Chickenpox as a little one, which you just catch, it's an infectious disease, and then shingles as an adult. Now, the rise in shingles cases seems to correspond with when we started vaccinating kids for chickenpox. It's not the same kind of immunity you get from a vaccine that you get from actually having a condition yourself. It's controversial. It hasn't been proven, but when you look at the statistics, you can see the advent and then rise of the chickenpox vaccine, and then a little bit after, you see that parallel rise in shingles cases. And now we're even seeing it in young people. It used to be an old person's disease, and now we're seeing it in young people. But I contend there are other reasons why this shingles has become such a bigger problem, because in addition to the chickenpox vaccine, which I'm sure is a factor, we have these other things that affect our nervous system. So let's talk about them, because as you get these handled, you build your immunity more and more and more, not just to shingles, but to any virus. The flu is something we think about this time of the year as well. So this pertains to all viruses. All right, so number one, your nervous system needs to be able to rest, rejuvenate, and heal. So if we're just go, go, go all the time, we don't have any exercise program, we don't, do deep breathing, we just feel on edge all the time, that's your sign that your nervous system is already irritated. When you go to sleep at night is when you get your best rejuvenation. Although, like a yoga class, for example, with the stretching and deep breathing can also facilitate some healing. You just don't do that for a super long time. Like sleep, you're there hopefully 7 or 8 hours to rejuvenate yourself. Well, if you sleep with a cell phone by your bed, a cordless phone, a television, your Kindle, you fall asleep to your Kindle, whatever it is, those electromagnetic fields keep irritating your nervous system all night long. So you're trying to switch gears, relax, and then your nervous system is going, wait, no, there's danger near, because that's the way it perceives those electromagnetics. So just clear your bedroom out. Phones, computers, iPads, televisions, all those need to be 8 feet from your closest body part, not your head. Your feet matter too. So keep it 8 feet away from everything. And then a little emitter like a plug-in clock, a fan, a radio, something like that, only 4 feet away. So that's number one. And then you also, so I want to say a word here, because we have 5G wireless that's about to come into Atlanta, which is where I'm streaming from. And it's not going to be in the too distant future. Now, 5G is going to be massively stronger Wi-Fi than what we currently have. And my understanding is that this is how driverless cars are going to be directed around, is by the 5G Wi-Fi. So you can imagine how strong that's going to have to be, to ensure that you just don't have, cars wrecking all over the place like some bad video game. And already, like in my career, because when I started in 1990, there were no cell phones. No people had personal computers. Computers existed in industry, but the average home did not have a computer. It has just ramped up tremendously in this last 28 years. And I've seen chronic illness just ramp right up along with it. And I have also seen as a naturopath that as each new introduction, cell phones came along, then Wi-Fi came along, I actually see that it becomes a bit more difficult to get people healthy. It used to be easier for me. It takes me a little bit longer now. I can still do it, but it takes a bit more effort. Anyway, so I'm exploring personal protection devices because I do believe that when 5G comes along, we're just to be the safest we can be. We're just going to have to wear something, some kind of pendant or some kind of device to help protect our bodies. So I've been in the process of researching this for several months now. And as soon as I, really find what the best ones are, because I don't believe there's going to be one right one for everybody, I'll definitely share that information. So protect yourself as much as you can from electromagnetics, especially where you sleep. Number 2 is looking at your vitamin D. And it just slays me. Vitamin D is so important for so many kinds of health conditions, your hormones, your nervous system. They even correlate like cases of MS, which is a neurological disorder that are higher in the north than in the south. They're correlating that with the fewer hours of sunshine. So vitamin D plays an important role. And when we're talking about preventing shingles, flu, any kind of virus, it's the same thing. Now, on your medical test, vitamin D levels can go from 30 to 100 and be considered normal. But to protect yourself from cancer, it needs to be at least 60. To protect yourself from viruses like shingles and the flu, it also needs to be at least 60. So when you get your blood tested and your doctor says, oh, your vitamin D is normal, then just politely ask, okay, good. What is the actual number? And then you're going to know, are you only barely in there or are you truly at an optimal range? Now, I'm going to put in the comments a website where you can get your own blood tested. I keep trying to learn to spell and talk at the same time. It never works. Okay, here we go. Direct Labs. And the test is called vitamin D 25-hydroxy. That's what you're going to look for when you go to the Direct Lab site. They often run it on special. It's around $49 or $59. You order it online, and then you can go to any LabCorp location. They're all over the city, and get your blood draw there. So if you have a problem, if your vitamin D is lower than 60, then if you're unsure how much vitamin D to take, just private message me. I'd be happy to work with you on that. Okay, so after the electrical devices, after the vitamin D, next is vitamin B12. So vitamin B12 helps to create the insulation on your nerves. It's called myelin. And the better condition that insulation is, the more strong your nerves are, and they can handle an input better, and they can keep an irritant like the shingles virus, like herpes zoster, at bay more. And just remember, this works for all viruses. So your B12 should actually be at the very, very top of the normal range, not just inside normal. And most people can be fine with just taking 1,000 micrograms of B12 a day. You definitely want to get what's called a methylated, sorry, easy for me to say, a methylated B12, because the one that starts with CYANA, that one is not tolerated by a lot of people and can actually cause some irritation. So again, private message me if you need some more info on that. And we do sell both vitamin D and B12 at our office. I'll put our phone number there if you want a good brand. There are lots of good brands at health food stores, but if you would like to order from us, we would be happy to send it to you too. All right, now after those two vitamins, the next factor that influences your vulnerability to shingles is other viruses. So if you had mono back in the day, if you get fever blisters, or you used to get fever blisters, because remember, these viruses just live in the nerve tissue. They can stay dormant a long time. If you haven't had a fever blister for 20 years and you get stressed out and you're out in the sun and you get one, it's not a new one. That's the same one you had 20 years ago. So even if you had these viruses in the past, they can affect you. Genital herpes is the same way. Warts are the same way. And even vaccines, like the more vaccines you've had, the more you've been exposed to these nerve irritants, the viruses themselves, and then the other ingredients that they put in the vaccines. So the more viruses you've been exposed to, when you get to this time of year when there's a vulnerability factor to flu and shingles, I recommend an amino acid, which I'm going to put in the comments, L-Lysine. And then to prevent, a preventative dose is 1,000 milligrams, and you do it on an empty stomach. And there you go. And then if you feel that you are starting to come down with shingles, you can we'll talk about that in a moment. But if you've had a lot of viruses in the past, mono or anything else, then definitely through this winter season, go ahead and take 1,000 milligrams of lysine on an empty stomach once a day. And that also helps to boost your protection. Lysine works against viruses. All right, so next, here comes a big one during this holiday season that I'm streaming this, and that is mental stress. And if you notice, when it gets into the holiday times and people are running around more and they're stressed out and they're being around family members or other people that maybe they don't have the best relationships with, or they're entertaining a whole house full of people, that stress also makes your nervous system more vulnerable. Super important to find out how you can cope with it, because face it, whether it's the holidays or not the holidays, life is going to throw stress at you. So exercise, number one. Relaxation and deep breathing, very helpful. Essential oils are fabulous. And I'm a huge proponent of just smelling them and using the ones that make you feel good, because your body is going to give you that feedback. Wow, I don't want to put that thing down. I'm going to smell it over and over again. And you can use them in your environment. I mean, music, taking a little walk, talking to a friend, just anything to distract yourself. all of those are good ways to help deal with the mental stress aspect of the holidays. And then another one, man, I'm guilty of this. Just let go of perfection. You know what? You got to enjoy yourself during this season. If you're always worried about everything being just so perfect that you don't even have enjoyment of it, I mean, what's the point? So that's another little tip. But mental stress, we want to reduce that wherever we can. And then finally, oh gosh, I hate to bring this up in the holidays too, but finally, sugar is another thing that lowers your immune system and stresses your nervous system. So, you know, avoid sugar as much as you can. I know there's tons of treats around, lots of holiday things. What I will ask you is, if you're going to indulge, do it after a meal. Like, don't do it on an empty stomach, because then it has the biggest hit to your blood sugar, the biggest hit to your immune system. So have it after a meal. Nibble slowly so you don't go crazy. And then vitamin C can help a lot. If you take a chewable, you know, 500, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C after eating sugar, that also helps you deal with it a little bit better. All right, so finally, let's say for some reason you do start to develop shingles. I really don't expect you to. If you do all these things above, and if you eat good food, you don't grab a lot of fast food and processed food, you really should have no problem with the shingles. But let's say your habits aren't good or whatever happens, and you do start to feel like, ooh, I'm getting that itchy, painful feeling. A lot of times it happens around the trunk, but it can happen on the face. It can happen in other areas. When you very, very first start feeling that, you want to increase that lysine to 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day on an empty stomach. Lysine does a really, really good job of halting viruses. Then there are homeopathic remedies that help as well. My phone number is in the comments. If you want our homeopathic support, it's called ApoInfect. The thing is, you can't order it online. It's only sold through practitioners. So that's one you can't find over the counter, but that works really, really well. Astragalus herb, I'll spell that for you, Astragalus. Astragalus is also very helpful. And then if you do start to break out and you start getting those little blisters, Manuka honey on actually the blisters, fabulous. It really, really helps to fight the virus, and it really, really helps to get the pain level down. And you want to just keep yourself coated with the Manuka honey. So just to recap, and Lisa, glad you could join. Just to recap, you want to minimize your electromagnetics, optimize your vitamin D and B12. If you've had other viruses in your history, mono, herpes, you know, fever blisters or genital herpes, warts, lots of vaccines, you know, flu vaccines, bad flus, take 1,000 milligrams of lysine on an empty stomach once a day as a preventative. You know, the astragalus herb you can take as a preventative as well. That works really well. And then you want to do everything you can to minimize your stress, because that doesn't help anything. That makes you vulnerable to. Get your sleep. And then finally, try to avoid as much sugar as you can. Always, always message me if you have questions about these things. Actually, somebody sent me a message and said, will you talk about shingles? That's how I'm even talking about it today. So if there's a subject that comes up that you'd like to know a naturopathic perspective on, because we really do look at these things in a different way, just shoot me an email. My email address is Debra@natureheals with a hyphen.com. Whoop. Shoot me an email, private message me through Facebook, call me, shout out, do whatever, let me know. I'll stream about whatever you're interested in. And if I don't know everything about it, I'll research it and put it up. So thanks everybody for joining. I hope you're having a fabulous holiday season. I'm about to go meet my staff and have our little Christmas celebration at lunch. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one. Love you all. Bye.